everyone, it's Vicki from Minerva and welcome to our Fabric Masterclass series. So this series is designed to complement the Minerva Fabric Guide, which is the ultimate reference guide to learn all about fabrics, especially for dressmaking. So the guide covers everything from understanding the fundamental properties of different types of fabrics through to covering all about all different fibres and of course the sorts of things that you can make with different types of fabrics. And in the last section of the guide, we cover 70 of the most popular base cloths used in dressmaking. And each of those come with a physical swatch as well, so you can get hands-on learning as you work your way through the guide. If you are interested in purchasing a copy of the Minerva Fabric Guide, we do have them available at Minerva now and we can ship them out worldwide, and it really is, you know, the most fantastic resource to learn all about fabrics and just give you confidence, you know, in pairing patterns with fabrics, you know, what fabrics are good for what different styles, yeah, and just to, you know, give you confidence in your sewing. Now in this masterclass video series, myself and Jo, who you'll know from the channel, we have filmed 2 videos each to complement each of the 70 base cloths featured in the fabric guide. So we're going to work through the guide alphabetically, and each week we'll be doing a deep dive between us into a particular base cloth. So this week, today, I'm going to be taking a look at Broderie Anglaise fabrics. So we're going to take a look at some of the fabrics that we sell here at Minerva, and I've got a whole pile of pattern suggestions to share with you, you know, to give you specific pattern ideas on what you can make with Broderie Anglaise. And then in Jo's video, which is going to be coming to the channel later today, Jo's going to be guiding you through on how to sew with Broderie Anglaise, with lots of hints and tips as always in Jo's videos. And she's also going to be sharing some Minerva community maker inspiration from our website as well, just to show you, you know, what other people in the community have been making with Broderie Anglaise, and just to give you, you know, even more inspiration for your own sewing projects. So let's get stuck into it. So in the guide itself, like I say, in the back section, we talk about 70 of the most popular base cloths, and each of them get a 2-page spread, and this is the 2-page spread for Broderie Anglaise. So let's first of all take a look at one of these samples that I've got out, which is from our range here at Minerva, and then we'll chat through the fundamental properties of Broderie Anglaise to start with. Here we are. So hopefully you'll be able to see this on screen, but Broderie Anglaise is a form of cutwork embroidery. So the common thing that you find is where round or oval shapes or holes rather are pierced into the fabric, and then the cut edges are then overcast or embroidered to give a really pretty effect. So hopefully you'll be able to see that embroidery detail on screen there. But we do, as always, you know, have lots of close-up videos and photos of the details on our website as well. Now these holes, or these eyelets, are always sort of grouped into some sort of pattern that's then further embellished by quite, you know, usually quite simple embroidery on, you know, the surrounding areas of the fabric, and it does create a really very pretty effect. And you know, obviously you get lots of different varieties and patterns. Now Broderie Anglaise is very often found as a 100% cotton fibres, but it can also be very commonly found as a blend of polyester and cotton as well. And something to be mindful of as well is the thread that's actually used to create the embroidered pattern on the fabric. The fibre of that can be different to the actual fibre of the base cloth, which, you know, we'll talk about when I go through some of the samples that we've got, you know, I've got to show you today. But you know, it can, the difference in the thread can create a slightly, you know, different look. But really, apart from that, the only time that would necessarily come into effect is if you were going to dye the fabric. Because obviously if the base of the fabric is cotton and the thread was polyester, then the colours are likely to be different once you've dyed them on those 2 fibres. So that's where that might come in. So in the fabric guide, we do also talk about the weight, opacity, the drape, the stretch, the washing instructions of Broderie Anglaise as well. But really what I'm here to focus on today as well is specifically what you can make with Broderie Anglaise as well. So Broderie Anglaise fabrics are often used to sew summery type clothing, you know, with it being made from a cotton or a cotton blend. It suits that time of year. Things like tops, shirts, blouses, skirts, dresses, that sort of thing. But it's also very popular for special occasion type wear. So think like christening gowns or baby items. It's great for children's wear, all that sort of thing. So let's take a look now at the different samples that I got out to show you from our collection here at Minerva. Now, you often find with Broderie Anglaise there are ranges in our core range here at Minerva. So type that, you know, I guess are quite traditional or more common Broderie Anglaise fabrics that you find, you know, you find more often. And, you know, we then stock those in different colours and we stock them throughout the year. You know, they're a line that we always run here at Minerva. But then you will find, you know, more, slightly more unusual ones that are perhaps ones that we, you know, are dead stock finds, or, you know, ones that are more limited run. So yeah, the range can often be changing in Broderie Anglaise for that reason. So let's have a look at this first one in more detail. So this one is one of our core ranges here at Minerva. It's our 5-hole Broderie Anglaise. It's 65% polyester, 35% cotton. It is approximately 112 centimetres wide or 44 inches, and it's 105 GSM, so that's 105 grams per square metre, and that puts it in our light to medium weight category here at Minerva. And this one in particular, this one comes in white or cream, both very traditional kind of typical colours that you will find Broderie Anglaise in. So I think before we just talk about this one in detail, let me just get the next sample out for you, because they are very similar, and I think it'd be helpful really to just talk about the differences between them. So this second one is our 3-hole Broderie Anglaise, and all the details are the same: the width, the weight, the fibre content. The only difference with this one is that it comes in white, cream, blue and pink. So there's a couple of extra colours in this. But when I hold them out, you'll hopefully be able to see, you know, they are just the same sort of fabric. The difference in them is the embroidery detailing and specifically those cut out little holes. So the 3-hole one obviously has a pattern that's made up from cut work made up of 3 different holes with then the embroidery around, and the 5-hole one has 5 holes in it with then all the embroidery around. So they're both really pretty, very traditional kind of Broderie Anglaise. With both of these two, the thread that is used to do the embroidery is slightly shiny, and the fabric itself is is matte, is, you know, not shiny at all. So that does mean that the embroidery stands out a little bit, because, you know, it just catches the light ever so slightly. And that will mean, so the thread on these will be a polyester, whereas the base of the fabric is a polyester and cotton blend. So it's just something to be mindful of. Some of the other examples I've got coming up later have a cotton thread, which is matte. So it just gives it a different look, and, you know, it just depends what you're looking for, really. Now, in terms of the actual base fabric itself, so not necessarily focusing on the embroidery details, so it is very similar to like a polycotton fabric, or like a cotton broadcloth, a poplin, that sort of thing. So it's lightweight, it has a little bit of structure, like you'll see it's not got much drape, which that's down to, you know, it's cotton fibre content. I would say it is a little bit sheer, probably in the, you know, the other colourways, maybe not quite so much so, but they will all be ever so slightly sheer. So, you know, just depending on what you're making, you may want to, you know, line it, or, you know, or not. Obviously, with the fabrics having cut out holes in them, that's something that you just need to take into account as well. You know, if it's for like a little baby item, a little christening dress or something, you'd probably want to line it, and in which case you could line it with like a pure cotton pure cotton poplin fabric, or a cotton lawn, or a polycotton fabric, something like that. So yeah, that's the first two fabrics, which I think when people think of Broderie Anglaise, they're often the two that people think of initially. Now the next two we've got, these are another two of our core ranges, and with these ones, so this first one is called our Broderie Anglaise, 65% poly, 35% cotton again. These ones are 150 centimetres wide with 59 inches, 110 GSM, so again that's still in our light to medium weight category, just a touch heavier. But these ones actually come in about 7 or 8 different colours. And what's special about these two is that they actually are like a mix and match range. So this first one, as you can see, this is a 3-hole embroidery. And yeah, very, very pretty design on this one. This one also has a slightly shiny thread. I would say with this one, it is ever so slightly softer. And it's certainly not drapey, but compared to the other one, it has a little bit more drape. And, you know, obviously it's a wider width, so, you know, you can take that into account when, you know, when sort of choosing between the ranges. And just the fact that it comes in some other colours, you know, is really nice and a little bit, you know, sort of less traditional, I guess. But what's really special about this one is its matching mix and match partner that's available. So this one is our double border Broderie Anglaise. It's the same composition, same width, same weight, and again comes in 7 or 8 different colours. But what's special about this one, which I think is really, really lovely, is, so this is the selve edge of the fabric down here, and can you see that beautiful embroidered border detail that goes across? And then in between the fabric we have little bits of embroidery, you know, they're quite sparse, and then at the other border we have this gorgeous, again, embroidered border detail, and down both the selve edges you've got this really pretty embroidered scalloped edge as well, so you could perhaps, you know, use that in your projects as well, without, you know, the need to hem. So yeah, both of these fabrics are like I say, a mix and match range. So depending on what you were making, you know, you could maybe combine the two fabrics. You know, the colours match perfectly. Yeah, a really lovely range, that one. I just think the heavy embroidered border on that is really, really special. Yeah, and if you were making something for your, you know, baby or children that was for a special occasion, to have that element in it, I think would be really, really special. And then next of all, so the last sort of like little collection I've got, so these are actually quite relatively new here at Minerva, and these are our 100% cotton Broderie Anglaise. We have 4 different designs, and each of the different designs comes in white, pale pink and pale blue. So again, you know, quite traditional colours for Broderie Anglaise, but they're really, really pretty. Now with these, all 4 of them have slightly different patterns. They're all floral embroidered designs. They all have, you know, the traditional cutwork detail of Broderie Anglaise, but they're all just slightly different. So this first one, let's hold this one up. This one almost has like a starry floral print. Lots of embroidery detail on this one. And another thing that's quite special about these is that the embroidery on all the cotton collection is a cotton thread, so it's got a matte finish to it, and it just, you know, it just gives it a different look to the others. Yeah, it's really, really special, and if you were to dye these a different colour, you know, you could be confident that you're going to get, you know, an even colour across the thread and the fabric, as close as possible, you know. So yeah, that's a really pretty one. I think on the detail on these is so subtle that it is probably going to be quite difficult to get it across on camera, but please do look at our you know, close-up photos on the website so you can see the patterns on these, because they are really, really special. As you can see, it's a very, very pastel pink colour, very, very light. That'd be really, really sweet for some, you know, a summery blouse or little girl's dress, you know, that sort of thing. This next one has more holes in this embroidery detail. So you might be able to see there, and you can see through it a lot more, this fabric. And like I say, it just depends what you're making as to whether you're going to want to line it. Or you could line part of the garment and perhaps leave the sleeve, with the exposed embroidery work. There's lots of different options. And then finally, this last one, quite a traditional kind of design, this one with the little floral 5-flower, cut-out detail. And again, the blue in this is very, very pastel as well. So they're really, really pretty shades. So that's just, a pick of some of the Broderie Anglaise fabrics that we have on the website. Please do have a look at, the Broderie Anglaise section on our website, because there's lots of choice. And if you want some more brighter, bolder colours, we have a few of those in there as well. But, important to remember that you can always dye, especially the 100% cotton ones, very easily. So that's, just another way to sort of add your own stamp and creativity onto these fabrics. So next, let's take a look at some of the pattern suggestions that I have. So first of all, I've actually got 3, a baby and a couple of children's wear patterns, which I thought were all really lovely options for Broderie Anglaise. So we'll insert some images as we go through so you can see the patterns as I'm chatting about them. And the first one is Butterick 5624, and this is a really sweet baby pattern that covers, sizes from newborn up to extra large baby sizes. And you've got so much in this pattern. It's such good value for everything that includes. So you've got little sun hats, little rompers, dresses, little pants and shorts, even a little sun bag. It's really, really sweet. And I think particularly, like the little dresses, or any of the items really would be really sweet in Broderie Anglaise. Next up, so I've got Simplicity 9963, and this one covers ages 3 to 14, so quite a good age range on this pattern. And this is a really sweet girl's dress or a top and skirt combo. And the fabric that they've actually made it in on the envelope is like a Broderie Anglaise, that's actually got it looks like a little border detail with a scalloped edge. So I thought if you use the border embroidered, the double border embroidered Broderie Anglaise, that could be really lovely for this pattern and will give you a very similar effect to the makes on the envelope. And the other pattern I've got is the Bonnie dress from Style Arc. So this one covers ages 2 to 8. And it's a really, really sweet little dress that's got some frill details around the armholes. It's got a frill along the bottom, and then you've 2 options for the neckline. So you've got a Peter Pan collar option or a bow collar option, both of which are really sweet. Or you can just leave it plain as well. Yeah, I think that'd be a very cool, comfortable, really lovely dress for your children to wear. Perhaps something that'd be nice on holiday as well. Yeah, very, very sweet. Then I've got a few dress patterns for the adults. So first up, we've got the Celine dress from Vicki Sew's patterns. And this is, I think, a really gorgeous dress to wear on like a summer holiday or when it's really hot. So it has quite a low, V-neck plunging neckline, which I know isn't for everybody, but I think depending on, how you gathered those parts in, you could make that less revealing if you wanted to. It's got a really nice little tie bow detail at the bust as well, but the main sort of feature of this dress is that gorgeous double strap detail and all those gorgeous tiers and gathers. I think particularly in one of the 100% cotton Broderie Anglaise, it will give it a really summery, relaxed, comfortable kind of dress that'd just be really lovely and cool to wear. And would just give it, I guess, a bit of added interest with having the embroidery detail on the fabric. And next up, I've got another kind of easy breezy sort of dress. Really, I kind of see this as more of like a cover up for around the beach or something like that. And this is New Look 6566. So it was specifically View A that I was looking at, which is the version on the envelope sort of shown modelled. And it's like a full maxi length almost like a shift dress, if you will, but it's got huge slits up the sides, which to me, I think that would be fabulous for, you know, like a cover up to wear on, you know, when you're at the beach, around the pool. And again, in one of like the cotton Broderie Anglaise, it would be so light and breezy and airy. Obviously you wouldn't need to think about lining or anything like that. So yeah, that could be a really nice simple sew that was just, yeah, elevated again by the embroidery on the beautiful fabric. In a similar vein to that as well, I've got the Nevia dress from Vicki Sews, and this is it's kind of like loose, oversized, not much shape to it really, almost like a caftan kind of style dress. It's got a V-neck with a little split detail at the front, and then these very loose kind of grown on, if you will, sleeves that are not the shape of a rectangle obviously, but almost that kind of effect to create that really billowing, oversized kind of shape. Again, I would see this personally as something that I'd wear around, you know, the pool or at the beach, that sort of thing, as like a cover up. And again, I think that would be really lovely, especially in one of the cotton Broderie Anglaise fabrics. The next pattern, so I had to choose this just because of how it's been styled on the envelope, and this is the ever popular McCall's 7948 dress. And you can see version view D rather has actually been sewn up in like a Broderie Anglaise type fabric that has those cut out hole details. So yeah, this is a really, really pretty round neck dress that's, you know, semi-fitted at the top, and then it has these loose gathered tiers in the skirt, or you've got options with big pleats in there, and then you've got different options for the sleeves. You've got sleeveless or different frill options. Really, really lovely dress. I think on the view that they've shown there, it shows it unlined, which, you know, there's nothing to stop you wearing one of these as an unlined dress, but, you know, depending on your particular, you know, style preferences and what you feel comfortable in, you know, you may want to wear a slip underneath, or you could consider, you know, lining parts of the dress. But yeah, it's a really, really lovely one that I think looks fabulous on the envelope there like that. And then the next dress I've got is the Ether dress from Pattern Fantastique, and this, I love the gathering details, the huge big frills on the sleeves, the I guess a bit more than an A-line, you know, that shape of the big skirt. It's got so many gorgeous details, this pattern, and I just think to make a very casual, summery, lightweight version that's going to keep you nice and cool, again in one of the cotton Broderie Anglaise, will be absolutely beautiful. Yeah, and I guess the oversized nature of it with all that gathering, especially around, you know, the bodice area, I think for me, like, I wouldn't think about lining that. I would think of this as like a summer holiday dress, or, you know, when it's really warm here in the UK. Yeah, I think that would be absolutely gorgeous in one of those. The next couple of patterns I've got are actually tops and dresses on the pattern. So first up, we've got the Cali shirt and shirt dress from Closet Core Patterns. So this is a very sort of classic kind of shirt pattern, very popular in the sewing community. It's got a loose body skimming, you know, kind of silhouette. And for any of the views, you've 3 different lengths in this, with different sort of button-up options, but any of the views will be fabulous in this sort of fabric. Yeah, and I just think a little cropped shirt like that in this sort of fabric would be really cute, but equally the full shirt dress, you know, any of those views will be really nice. And then the other option I've got is the Tilly and the Buttons Marnie. So this is a blouse or a mini dress. And this is the pattern from Tilly and the Buttons where I'm pretty sure I've seen an example of this from them that's sewn up in a Broderie Anglaise, and it just looks really, really lovely. The sort of crisp, slightly structured quality of this fabric, with it being made from a cotton or a cotton blend, really suits those undulating tuck details. It will hold the shape of those sort of billowy sleeves really, really well. And if you add the frill options, you know, they will sort of stand quite proud and really nicely. So yeah, whether you opt for the simpler sort of view without all those details, that would be lovely, because, you know, the Broderie Anglaise would just add a special something. But again, likewise, if you go for all the details on this pattern, it would look fabulous in this sort of fabric. So next up I've got a few different top patterns. So first of all, I was actually inspired by somebody who's actually made this in a Broderie Anglaise and shared their make on the Minerva website. So I thought, yeah, I'll include that pattern in today's video. So this is the Dove blouse from Megan Nielsen Patterns. We actually did some kits on this a little while ago, and it's now such a popular pattern in the Minerva sewing community. So it's a V-neck top with 3 different sleeve options, and it's a loose fit that just kind of skims, so it'll be nice and comfortable to wear, and it's got a shaped hemline as well, which I think is very pretty. But really the main star of the show on this pattern are those fabulous sleeves, especially view B and C. View C I love especially. So it's, you know, quite plain at the top and then goes into this big sort of flounce type sleeve. Really, really gorgeous, and yeah, would look fabulous in one of the Broderie Anglaise. Next up I've got McCall's 7838, and this is just quite an, you know, I guess a modern, unusual kind of take on a typical shirt. So you have 4 different views in this pattern. They all have, you know, they're all button up with a collar, and you have different lengths. So you have a shorter, almost like a cropped length. You have a shorter one that's a dip hem at the back. And then you have a longer version which has a shaped hemline. But really, again, the statement of the show, a statement of this pattern are the gorgeous sleeves. And you actually have 4 different fabulous sleeve options on this pattern. So view A almost has like a draping detail. View B is, I think they call that like mutton sleeve, something like that, but basically got this like puff ball at the top and then goes into a straighter plain sleeve at the bottom. View C, which is possibly my favourite and the one that's actually been sewn upon the modelled on the envelope, is plain at the top, and then it has this big billowing sleeve that then goes into a really deep buttoned cuff. That's a fabulous sleeve. Or then there's D that has like a full kind of flounce type sleeve with a little bow detail round. So yeah, I think any of those options will be fabulous in the Broderie Anglaise and would just create a, you know, a twist on a typical, I guess, traditional shirt pattern in both the fabric and the, you know, the sleeves on that pattern. And then the next top pattern I've got is the Kent tunic from Style Art Patterns, and this I love the sleeves again on this particular pattern, but it's just a really simple, you know, collar that goes into like a slit down the front. It has a shaped hemline, a little bit of gathering at the yoke at the back, so quite simple really, but then it's all about this gorgeous sleeve that's like a you know, gathers into a cuff at a 3/4 length, as a button, you know, cuff type fastening. Just looks really, really lovely, and I think would suit a fabric like Broderie Anglaise that has a little bit of structure, a little bit of crispness to it, because it's really going to hold the shape of that sleeve nicely, but it's still going to sew up nice and crisp with those cuff details and that neckline detail as well. And then the last pattern I've got to share with you today, so this is actually a 2-in-1 pattern. So this is McCall's 8482 and 8483. So this is one of the patterns that has a fantastic size range, where it actually spans over 2 different pattern numbers. So yeah, it's 8482 and 8483. So obviously, you know, you just make sure you choose the one that's best based on your measurements. And so this pattern is actually a top and skirt cord set. The top has an elasticated round neckline, elasticated cropped detail at the bottom, and then it has puff ball sleeves, which you have the option for 2 different lengths. And then the skirt, you've got 2 different options. Both of them feature sort of asymmetric or diagonal lines with gathering details into them. View C has like an asymmetric hemline, or view D is longer with a straight hemline, but they both share, you know, very similar detailing in those diagonal seam lines and all the gathering. So yeah, it's really, really sweet. And actually view A on the top actually has an option for a little tie at the bottom of the top as well. So yeah, lots to choose from as always with McCall's patterns there. And yeah, again, I just think it will make a really lovely summery kind of cord set. Be so light and breezy and cool to wear in the heat. Yeah, it would just be really kind of have a very sweet kind of look in the Broderie Anglaise. So that's all my pattern suggestions that I had to share with you today for the Broderie Anglaise. I hope you've enjoyed taking a deep dive into this base cloth. I'd love to know if Broderie Anglaise is something that you've ever sewn with before. I think, you know, in years gone by, it's been one of those sort of fabrics that's maybe been kind of put into the bracket of, you know, sewing christening gowns or baby items, or you know, things like that for kind of special occasions. But in modern times, you know, there's so much more choice in terms of colour and texture, and especially when you get these really beautiful 100% cotton versions, that it really can start to, you know, to work into your kind of everyday wardrobe. And you know, it's such a light, breezy, you know, breathable kind of fabric that I think it's a really lovely one to wear in the sun. And just that embroidery detail, you know, it just gives it an extra special something, doesn't it? You know, you're not wearing a loud print, it's more similar to wearing a plain fabric, but just that embroidery detail just gives it, you know, an extra little something, a little bit of detail that, you know, can just really elevate a make. So as always, I will tag all the fabrics and the patterns that I've mentioned in today's video, and the fabric guide as well if you're interested in that. So please do take a look at, you know, the links to the tagged items below this video, and you'll be able to explore all those on Minerva. You know, you can take a closer look at the fabric details on the photos. And as always, the great thing with the Minerva website is anybody in the Minerva community that shared makes using either these fabrics or patterns, you'll be able to see those tagged posts on the product pages, and you know, there's just even more inspiration there to give you lots of ideas. So just to mention, at Minerva we do offer free super fast worldwide delivery, so wherever you're watching us from, we can send parcels of sewing joy out to you. That's no problem at all. If you're a member of the Minerva Craft Club, then you will be able to save 10% off everything I've mentioned in today's video, off the fabric guide, everything on our website. So it's a really great way to save, you know, throughout the year. So we'll put a link to that below, you know, just in case you're interested. And if you did want to order samples of any of these fabrics, you know, before committing to buy, you can absolutely do that on Minerva as well. We offer a full sample service on any of our fabrics, and you get a really good piece, you know, about 10 centimetres by the width of the fabric. So they're really good for, you know, assessing the fabric in the flesh, and you know, having plenty to be able to, you know, get hands on with, and you know, decide ultimately if the fabric's the right one for your project. So thank you so much for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed that. Do check out Jo's video that's coming to the channel later today, and she'll be going through you know, a deep dive from a how to sew point of view with these gorgeous fabrics. So yeah, as always with your videos, it'll be packed full of tips and techniques and inspiration, so do check that out on the channel later today. And yeah, in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next week with the next base cloth in the fabric guide. I look forward to seeing you then.